This is a podcast or something like that. Hello, and welcome to the Verbal Journal podcast. Yes, thank you. Is that the clapping sound effect? Could we have a look at that for a second? Hold on, pull that up. Because that does not sound like a clapping sound effect. Listen to it. It's like that's a punching sound effect. Could we, hold on. More like a, hello and welcome to the Verbal Journal podcast. Yep, haha, thank you. That's much better. It is, we will have to change so it's not like a perfectly even, perfectly rhythmic. We'll definitely want to, make it sort of, because when there's people clapping, well, I guess when there's one person clapping, it's rhythmic. No, even then it's not. Like the normal one person clapping, like it would be like, they sort of like get faster and then slower. They're like, ooh, yeah, woo. Like, I mean, I guess you don't hear one person clapping all that often, but normally it would be like, woo. You know what I mean? There's like sort of it's like that. I feel like is the polite way for one person to clap. It's like, they're sort of like, it's like they're doing a like kind of more rapid as if to simulate more people. They're like, but then they slow down because they get tired. It's like, yeah. So that's the sound effect is not like that. Sound effect. Play that sound effect again. Yeah, that's again. It's how did we do that? How did we make those sound effects? Okay, the producer's saying that they don't know. Okay, well. Yeah, I don't normally talk to the producer here on the podcast. You might be thinking, that's new. Longtime listeners of the Verbal Journal podcast will be saying, that's new. Not a lot of conversing with the producer. But I've decided to do that more to try to have more interactivity. I've been getting a lot of survey results. People say they love it when I talk to Randall, the data guy. Reginald. Oh my God, Reginald, I'm so sorry. Did I just call you Randall? I'm so sorry. And we're friends now ever since last episode. So I'm so sorry. That was really embarrassing. And there are good and deep reasons why I called you that. But I'm so sorry. And wow, that's really embarrassing. Not a good way to start the episode. Not a good way to start the day with Reginald over here. And I was trying to bring you up early in the episode and do something good. They say the road to hell is paved with good intention. Damn it. Because, yeah, I did not mean... Reginald, the data guy, is who I'm talking about, who you all know very well and who I've recently become much closer with through empathizing with his degree of labor that he puts in here to gather the data. Anyways... People, I've been getting survey results. People say they love when I talk to Reginald. Maybe not when we're having some awkwardness when I call him the wrong name. Am I right? But people say they love it. They find it very funny and very interesting. They say it's a funny bit, which I don't really understand because it's not a bit. I guess they just mean like a segment. Yeah, so they like when I talk to Reginald. That's always a win. So they said, why don't you talk to the producer more? That's what the higher up said. They said, talk to the producer. Talk to Dana, the producer. And just keep some conversation going. Anyways, thanks Dana for the sound effects. We'll figure that out. Ultimately. But welcome to the journal, the Verbal Journal podcast, episode 66. This is Hail Satan. Am I right? It's like mini Satan. It's like little half Satan. 666. They get tired after 2 6s. They're like 666. Hail Satan. A daimon. Daimon, you crazy daimons, shine on. There's a joke there. What did Pink Floyd say to the Greek spiritual entity? Shine on, you crazy daimons. Okay. Okay, you all are really getting your money's worth here in the intro. Speaking of money's worth, actually, I'm just going to do this in the intro. I was going to save this for later. I realized something. This is, obviously I haven't made a video in over a year, and one of the benefits of people supporting the channel is they get a shout out of their name in the videos, which is almost like a scam at this point, because I don't make videos. Same with the Discord is almost like a scam unintentionally just because I don't use Discord. So I have some of these old videos where I'm like, join the Discord. And I'm like still not trying to hype it up back then, but it still is too much for the little amount that I use it. So I do fear people joining and saying, but I decided, holy crap, I could just shout out my patrons here on the pod. Why am I not doing that? You know what I mean? So I'm just going to shout out the supporters. Maybe I'll do it every few episodes. I don't have to do it every time. And hey, feel free to, if you comment on the episodes, maybe I'll read those previous comments. Basically what I'm saying is no one's been writing in. So I wanted to stimulate some more some more interactivity with my, with the kind humans who give money to make this channel have a little bit more financial support. So basically, I still make a little money from AdSense, nothing too crazy, but still a good chunk, a little bit each month, a little chunk, a little solid, tiny chunk, small chunk, not tiny, small. But, and then I make a tiny chunk from Patreon. And then that together is a little bump to my day job. So it helps me all stay afloat, and it is very helpful. My day job, I'm a therapist. I make good money, but I don't work crazy hard. I see 15 clients a week. So I can make I don't know. It's not like a ton of money, but it's enough to support myself, which is cool. But, with the added income of YouTube and Patreon, then it's actually enough to support myself, basically. Because in this day and age, you do have to be making and saving money. It's not, or not just in this day and age, but, so supporting yourself is sort of like a bare minimum, but it is good that I can do that. So, and Patreon is, it's something, and so is YouTube memberships. It's something. So thank you to all the people who still continue signing up. In the last month on YouTube, I made $26 just from memberships. On Patreon, I guess it was $70, $80. I forget what the cut is. And that's great. And obviously YouTube, I make more from AdSense, but that's nice. Thank you to the members. And, in the last month, I had 2 cancellations and 4 members gained on YouTube. 16 total members. I never look at the screen. Wow. Yeah, someone joined 2 days ago. So thank you. I'll start with the YouTube members. Thank you. I'm just going to read your first name. Thank you, Igor. I'm sorry if I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Igai. Igri. Thank you so much for joining and supporting the channel. Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, At. Thank you, Ariadne. Sorry if I'm pronouncing anyone's names wrong, but thank you so much. Thank you, Rory. Thank you, G. Thank you, Simply. Thank you, Finesse. Thank you, Jaden. Oh, I remember that I forgot how to pronounce your name one time. Wow. So actually, holy crap. Let me start over. Eggy for 2 days. Eva for 4 months. Andre for 15 days. Oh, it's the total time on level, but I'm reading them in order of last update. Okay. This is not good content. I don't need to read all that. Anyways, so yeah, where was I? Trusty, thank you, Trusty, for 7 months. Thank you, Hector, for 12 months. Thank you, Hollow, for 12 months. And thank you, Robert, for 13 months of support. And Pit Inhabitant, I guess I can read the things that are not names, for 17 months of support. And thank you 39% Weird for 19 months of support. I hope these people know that they're still giving me money. Wow, 39% Weird, 19 months. Wow, so some of these people have even gotten their names read in videos. That's when you know they've been supporting for a while. Wow, that's really cool. So that's YouTube memberships. They listen to the podcast too. But, now let's move over to Patreon. Thank you to all my supporters on Patreon. Let's go through what your names are. And I know you might be listening right now and thinking, this is not really interesting, dude. But is it not? I mean, come on. One time, this is not worth doing. Let's see. Let's see. Lifetime. Okay, so thank you. In order of recent signups who have supported. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, X. What are you, the website? Can I call you Twitter for short? You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Success. I guess I'll just read the first word of stuff because I don't know if people want their whole. You know what I mean? Sometimes people sign up, they don't know what's showing, what's not showing. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Fat. Thank you, V4. Thank you, Epic. Thank you, Santa. Thank you, Milo. I don't know how you got a GIF. A GIF as your avatar on Patreon. Well done. Thank you, Silver. Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Anastasios. Oh, wait. Hold on. Yeah, okay. I was like, okay, never mind. Thank you, TV. Thank you, Linguist. Thank you, King. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you. Hold on. I'm losing my place. Thank you, Liam. Thank you to Stephanie. The reason I'm pausing so much is because it's slightly confusing. I'm trying to shout people out, but like Patreon also shows people who just subscribed for like a second and then unsubscribed. And it shows people who signed up for the free tier, which isn't even a tier that I ever created. And there's nothing you can get on the free tier. So it's like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like if someone signed up for 1 second and then unsubscribed, I'm not shouting you out. Like I think that's fair. So, I appreciate you signing up, I guess, but like, I don't know. I mean, that I don't really understand why, you know what I mean? Like that's not a shout out. You don't get a shout for just signing up for a second and then unsubscribing. People switch to the Patreon is so dumb because people literally switch to the free tier thinking they can probably still get something. And then they don't. Patreon just made it so much more confusing. Okay, anyways, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think I skipped. Hold on. Thank you, Tony. Oh, I did skip some people. Yeah. Okay. Because there are some people who are on the free tier, but they've given me money before as support. So thank you, Mutated. Thank you, Tiago. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Chuck. What, from Better Call Saul? Am I right? Thank you, Suspiria. Thank you. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Make. Thank you, Francesca. Wait. I don't know. I think your card got declined, but thank you anyways. It's the thought that counts. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Name. Whoa. There's more people. I should have just done active. Okay. Wait, no. I don't want to do active because there are people that I've missed. There are people that I've missed who deserve a shout out. And this is, okay, it's not always going to be this long. And by the way, if you're bored, fast forward. Also, there are timestamps on the YouTube. So it won't always be this long, but this is just for today. And wow, Patreon, your interface is so bad. It's literally now not even loading correctly and showing the table. Oh my Lord. This is so... Okay, I'm just going to read them all now because it's not showing who's signed up and who isn't. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Jacob, Trent, Infamous, Electro, Bozo, Braden, Icky, Donovan, Gabriel, Lazily, John, Died Famous, James, Redgrove, Benjamin, Isaac, Dylan, Maya, Fun Fact, Elemancy, Joel, Platinum, Diana, Steven, Rabid, Wheatskins, Taya, Lowe's, Andrew, Earth, I Need That Money, Molly, Brittany, Jen, Kimberly, Blonde, Vince, Pig, Santiago, Roman, Sashi, Brian, Ian, The Cynical Production, Gabriel, Jennifer, Avery, Mackenzie, Anthony. Holy Lord, this is not good. There's too many. Okay, good. Now I can see on this next page, it's actually showing me who's giving me money. Okay. Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Joel, because a lot of those people I just read, they're lucky to be read. They didn't actually give any money. Thank you, Irene, Ethan, Ringo, MJ. Wow, some of these people have given me over $100. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, GA. Thank you, Violet. Thank you, Ludwig. Chris. I don't have to say thank you again each time. They get why they're being named. Kenley, Kieran, Ellie, Condor, Man. I love that band. Chris, Christian, Ryan, Nick, Nathaniel, Nicholas, Sophie, Silas, Mr. Fahrenheit, John, Ben's Life, Madeline, John, Connor, Dependency Injector, Thomas, Aru Surya. Wow, this is taking a lot longer than I thought it would. We're almost done. Thank you, Mr. Moxie, Brent, Jameson, Molly, The Shadow Emperor, Kyle, Pete, Chained, Bennett. Sorry, I just had to pause because I read someone's full name. Wacky Jim. It wasn't Wacky Jim. Lisa, Ashley, SB. Thank you, Beef Block, Jack, Isham, Kat, 76 Trombones, Isaac, Amir, Flip a Coin, Melissa, Johnny, Scott, Brandon, Jillian, Luca, Owen, Joe, Scott, Elias, Mia, Connor, Ariamon, Doug, Deborah, Halls, Balls, Isaiah, Bruh, Boom, Modest Maoist, Gunther, Thulu, Magenta Lava Lamp, Daniel, Max, Lauren, Miles. We're almost done. And Strawman Productions, Ilias, Joe, Elise, Ben, and User. And just to be clear, it's not going to be that long each time. I know I already said that, but I need to say that again. I was just doing a back sort of, I was backdating it a little bit there. This was everybody who's ever supported the channel. I don't know why I read everybody who's ever supported the channel, but from this point out, we're just going to read active supporters at the end of the podcast every now and then. So don't worry about this being like too much of a thing. I'm already seeing Dana right now, the producer, is giving me a look. She's like, that was not supposed to last 15 minutes into the episode. I know, Dana. I know. I didn't mean for it to. You know what I'm saying? She's saying we're going to have to make up for it. Jesus Christ. Yeah, because we have a lot to talk about today, and we haven't talked about anything. We haven't even gotten to the first thing, which was like just a little bit. This was supposed to be the introduction, like the first minute. I was supposed to be, Qualcomm stock, which I mentioned last time because I was saying welcome to the podcast, but then I said it in a funny voice, and then I transitioned into a joke about Qualcomm, the company. And I said it's a good stock to invest in. Well, turns out it is. It is quite a good stock to invest in. In the last month, it's gone up 13% in quote-unquote value. In the last year, it's gone up 76%, meaning if you invested $10,000 a year ago, you would have $17,000 or, $18,000, and then you pay some taxes. I'm not about that. I'm not trying to invest in the stock market, but 5 years, 200%, Qualcomm's a pretty good, good bet. So if you like gambling, I would recommend that. Word of the day should not be the second thing here in the script, Dana, because it's like something that needs to come up organically. So let's put it before the desk segment. It's not, yeah. Okay. So the main segment today, we're going to talk about climate change, but in a fun and cool way that's going to be very interesting. So don't leave. The main segment, let's see. So here, headline is, no evidence big oil is serious on climate, report finds. And this is from the Canada's National Observer. It says, no evidence big oil is serious on climate. Major oil companies have in recent years made splashy climate pledges to cut their greenhouse gas emissions and take on the climate crisis, but a new report suggests those plans do not stand up to scrutiny. This is Dana. This is not stuff we normally would go into. I can see that you added this to the doc. Like last week, we didn't even have a main segment, and it was fine. You know what I mean? Like people don't necessarily come here expecting some big thing. It's yeah, no, it does seem interesting and important. The research and advocacy group Oil Change International examined climate plans from the 8 largest U.S. and European-based international oil and gas producers: BP, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, Eni, Equinor, ExxonMobil. I feel like I'm reading my Patreon supporters. Shell and Total Energies, and found none were compatible with limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, a threshold scientists have long warned could have dire consequences if breached. And yeah, it does actually seem like we're going to be breaching it, which is, this is so bad. It's really going to happen. Like, we're just going to keep sliding into climate disaster, unfortunately. It seems like the most likely situation. It's terrifying. I mean, there's a chance that, like, revolution... Like, there are a lot of people who would support, taking whatever action is necessary to save the planet. So we just need those people to be in power. And, releasing reports like this is hopefully part of that. It says, quote, this is a quote. There's no evidence that big oil and gas companies are acting seriously to be part of the energy transition, a global industry campaign manager at Oil Change International who co-authored the analysis said in a statement. None of the companies were immediately available for comment. The report's authors used 10 criteria and ranked each aspect of each company's plan on a spectrum from fully aligned to grossly insufficient, and found all 8 companies ranked grossly insufficient or insufficient on nearly all criteria. The U.S. firms Chevron, ConocoPhillips, and ExxonMobil each ranked grossly insufficient on all 10 criteria. So meaning their plans are not in line with their stated goals, meaning their stated goals are bullshit. The authors also found that the company's current oil and gas extraction plans could lead to more than 2.4 degrees Celsius of global temperature rise, which would probably usher in climate devastation. The 8 firms alone are on track to use 30% of the world's remaining global carbon budget to keep global average temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, the study found. So the 8 firms alone are on track to use 30% of the world's remaining global carbon budget. So remaining budget, the remaining amount of carbon that could be used by these, safely, as safely as possible. These companies are using basically a third of that. So that's not good because there are a lot of other companies using the rest of that. And it's over 100% is the problem. We are superseding the carbon that could be used ethically, basically. It's really horrifying. It's really like the central problem that faces our planet. In the words of a monk who I met and spent some time with when I traveled in India years ago, this is the greatest violence, is how he put it. The violence against the planet, which I agree. It has the most cascading consequences of violence and pain and suffering and needless suffering. It's just like we could really do better. It's not a matter of you and I recycling. It's a matter of like we need these companies who use 30% of our global carbon budget to keep their promises. And I think we should make them keep their promises because I don't believe that humans are inherently good or evil. I think they react to incentives like all organisms. And so I think we need to incentivize these companies to keep their promises. And there are probably a lot of different ways to do that. But they just can't be in charge of the government as they have been for so long. The authors broke the assessment's criteria into 3 categories: ambition to curb fossil fuel exploration and production, integrity of methods used to curb greenhouse gas emissions, and commitment to overseeing just and people-centered transitions away from fossil fuels. For sure. Yeah, you don't have to put everyone out of jobs. You have to take care of people, of course. Yeah. And there are ways to do that. Give me a break. You know what I mean? I think the human imagination can come up with ways to either, retrain or, it's just you have to retrain all the people, find them other jobs. Tough shit. What do you want me to say? This is a matter of life and death. Find a job that doesn't lead to climate devastation. Sorry. Become a cop. Like, I'd literally prefer if they all became cops. Okay, that's excessive. I take that back. I was being dramatic. But there's a lot of other jobs they could do. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, the company exists. Okay, well, yeah, maybe it shouldn't, If McDonald's was serving poisonous, I mean, honestly, we should, for climate reasons, probably think about fast food companies and how they function as well. I'm sure companies that rely on beef probably are significant contributors to climate issues and collapse and devastation. When it comes to ambition, the report found that none of the 8 companies have plans to stop fossil fuel exploration or halt the approval of new extraction projects. Yeah, why would they? Why would they, of their own volition, decide to not make profit? They need to be forced. We could use a carrot or we could use a stick, in the words of BetterCallSaul.com. Shell has 6 of the 8 companies, all but Shell and BP, have explicit goals to increase oil and gas production. Shell, meanwhile, plans to keep oil production steady while increasing its gas output, suggesting the company could also grow its overall production. Shell has technically lowered its fossil fuel production volume in recent years, but it has done so by selling... By the way, I think I might do a video podcast. Let me know what you would think of that. I might do an episode on video, maybe next week for the public as well. Is next week a public episode? I think it is. Okay, because I'm going to do a public episode like every 4 weeks. Okay, it's an approach that Shell has technically lowered its fossil fuel production volume in recent years, but it has done so by selling assets to other companies that continued extraction rather than shutting them down. Yeah, so not helpful. It's an approach that is inconsistent. So they have an asset, they have a drilling operation, they have a whatever operation, fracking, whatever they're doing. Whatever form of extraction they're doing, they have an operation. And to make their footprint smaller, they sell that specific asset to another company who's doing the extraction. Are we kidding ourselves? This is someone who's addicted to drugs, just like doing the drug a different method while they're at a friend's house and thinking that they're sober. It's like, okay. It's an approach that is inconsistent with the guidelines for corporate emissions accounting under the GHG protocol, a global standard for measuring planet heating pollution, and may also put corporations out of step with the United Nations guiding principles on business and human rights, the authors say. Well, maybe those guiding principles should be laws, right? Like international laws, like genocide laws. Like, why don't we just have the same types of laws? BP, meanwhile, produced 2.6 more oil and gas in 2023 than 2022 and plans to increase production this year but keep it flat in 2025. BP should not exist. You know what I mean? Like, ever since the oil spill and probably other reasons. Both companies have also started major new extraction projects in recent years. These are linked. So, what is this? Yeah, there's a lot of... all 8 firms also failed to meet basic criteria for just transition plans for workers and communities where they operate, and none met basic human rights criteria. Though some have human rights policies on the books, none have demonstrated sufficient plans to adhere to them. In emailed comments, the companies have pushed back on the findings. Curtis Smith, a spokesperson for Shell, said the company did, quote, not recognize the conclusions of this report. Yeah, that's a surprise. Hey, Curtis? Do you have kids? Do you want to have grandkids, Curtis? Do you have empathy? Okay, and more spokespeople saying spokespeople things that they are literally paid to say. I don't know why we even. Yeah. Okay. I guess you have to ask them. Okay. Well, the report in its fourth annual edition was endorsed by more than 200 climate groups internationally. Since the first edition of the report in 2020, many oil companies have rolled back climate pledges amid spiking fossil fuel prices. So they just roll back their pledges, which is better than lying, but actually still not good, right? Because the problem is when you're doing something hypocritical and you're also doing something bad, the solution is not to make it not hypocritical. The solution is to stop doing the bad thing. This follows a March report from the think tank Carbon Tracker, which found none of the world's 25 largest fossil fuel companies' production and transition plans align with the central goal of the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. You know, I really, really have a bone to pick with people who, oh, these climate agreements are just so pointless. They're just so meaningless. They don't force. I mean, yeah, it's a problem that they don't force people to do what they need to do, but the agreement would be good if people kept to it, you know, and it could be quite good. So to continue in this vein, we have a more fun. Yeah, I know. I was told that would be a fun segment too. I know. I said it to you listeners because it said that on my script. It said this is going to be a very fun segment. It said in bold, I know this is about climate change, but it's going to be super fun. This segment is going to be super fun. And it even said balls to the wall, which we don't usually have those types of, flares in our scripts here. So I was like, holy crap. Okay, but this next one is kind of interesting actually because climate activist arrested for attacking Monet painting at Paris's Orsay Museum. You might have seen this yesterday. I love to talk about art on here, and Monet, I'm actually reading a book about Monet and the Impressionists. Right now, they're really coming up. They're having their first exhibition. I think it's like 1975 or something. They're making this big decision to have their own exhibition outside or across the street from like the big salon, and it's a huge deal to do something like that. It's very anti-establishment, authority because there was just this one big salon in France. That's how it worked. It was the academy. It was connected to the government. It would sort of just privilege very traditional painting, and it was very hostile to Manet and then to Monet and all these other people. Cézanne, of course, he was sort of the wackiest in some ways. So yeah, Manet is not involved in this opening they're doing because he was getting some success at the salon. But anyways, Monet, very interesting. We look back, you might not, if you don't know a lot about art history, you might not realize, but like what they were doing was actually kind of really interesting and revolutionary, just in the sense that they were painting what they saw around them, rather than painting some sort of myth or some sort of political moral lesson. They were painting just regular life, and they were doing it in interesting ways that were challenging to people's sort of preconceptions. So climate activist arrested for it says attacking Monet painting. That's one way to put it. In a video posted on Twitter, the woman introducing herself as a concerned citizen is seen placing a blood red poster over the painting by Monet. In the video, she said of the poster that this nightmarish image awaits us if no alternative is put in place. It's sort of a picture of like a hellscape, and she's putting it over, these nice, beautiful paintings. So it's sort of like replacing Monet's landscape with a picture of like a hellscape. A restoration expert examined the painting, which suffered no permanent damage, adding that it had been put back on the wall. As I've talked about these issues before, I personally, I think this is great. I think there's no legitimate reason to take issue with these protests, unless you think that they somehow make climate activism less effective, and I genuinely have no idea how anyone could possibly have the authority to say something like that when we are struggling as we are to get a foothold towards positive change. If you're more optimistic than me, that must be nice, but I do not. It's from what I just read, and that's just one way of looking at things. The changes are not being made. We are not on the right track. It is not okay. Things are not okay. So in my opinion, if they took the painting off the wall and smashed it in front of people, I would support that. And if they did it with my painting in 200 years, I would support that too. Destroy the art if you want to. It is completely meaningless in a world where people cannot survive. Who cares? I do think that would probably be less effective than what they're doing, which is not damaging the painting. So I support them doing it the way they're doing it. I'm not saying they should damage the paintings. I would just still support them even if they did. But I think a lot of people wouldn't. So I'm glad that they're doing it in the way that they're doing it. I think that was actually a very good protest. Now let's look at a Reddit post about it to see what the public is saying. Obviously, Reddit is the most normal cross-section of the public that exists. So let's see. Let's look at the Reddit post. Top comment, wouldn't it make a lot more sense to deface oil executives? I mean, cut off their ear or something. That's really not top comment material, in my opinion. The response says, or deface their office buildings, destroy their something, or do something. Just, okay. Yeah, and then there's a lot of people just saying that they don't like these protests. Someone says if he held a picket line, if they held a picket sign outside their mansion, would we talk about it on Reddit? That's a good point. And I just think if you see this protest and say, well, why don't they do this? I just think you're kind of confused because you really can do those other things too. Yeah, no one's stopping you from joining the protest and doing it how you think it should be done. So, yeah, actually the comments were really good and most of them are quite supportive. Okay, great. Well, hey, that's climate change. That was pretty fun, right? We made climate change fun. We made climate change cool. No pun intended, am I right? All right, we got a lot more to talk about here. Let's see. What do we got? Okay. So grinds my gears segment. So this is not, like on the level of like, oh, climate collapse. You know what I mean? This is for stuff that just, like normally you would think, okay, this is when he talks about things he's upset about, but that would be funny coming right after the segment we just did. So I just want to specify, grinds my gears. It's not about something that bothers me per se. It's something that bothers me that's also a little bit silly, a little bit funny, Okay. So, but serious also. And every time I talk about something, I'm dead serious about it too. It's just not, I'm not compared to, climate collapse. Okay. Books written in English, and I've been reading a lot of art books, art biographies, so some of these do this. Books written in English that will randomly use untranslated other languages, usually like almost only French or Latin is what I see. I have no idea what it is. I really think it must just be a flex. Oh, in the spheres I move, I assume everyone knows that Latin phrase or that French phrase. Oh, look it up, peasant. Google it, peasant. Are you kidding me? The whole book's been in English. Just do an asterisk and put it at the bottom. Like, do you have an editor? Like, how am I supposed to know what that French phrase means? Or that French word? I don't know what that word means. I don't want to go get up and Google it. I'm lying down reading. This is an English book. Okay, thank you. Next up, the chess segment. Oh, okay. This is like the bothered episode. Because this part I'm actually upset about. This one I'm upset about somewhere. Okay, I have a few things to talk about with the chess. I'm not upset about all of it. Let me start with the part I'm not upset about. So we got the Norway chess tournament going on. Norway chess is a big tournament, super tournament. You know, all the top players are in it, or a bunch of them. Magnus Carlsen, the former world chess champion, the highest rated player currently. Ding Liren, the world chess champion. Pragananda, up and coming, amazing player. Firouzja, same thing. Caruana, Nakamura. Great players. Oh, nice. Caruana beat Nakamura today. Great in round 6 in the Armageddon. They play a classical game multiple hours long, and then if it's a draw, they play an Armageddon game where it's much shorter. And if it's white starts with more time than black, but if it's a draw, black wins is sort of how it works. So it's it's an interesting format. It's a good way to encourage people to try to get a decisive classical game, and it's exciting for the fans, whatever. I noticed an interesting one in it's interesting. I haven't been following it super close, and I don't really watch live chess broadcasts anymore. I might put it on in the background and look to it every now and then, but it's hard because they won't stay on the game that you want. It'll be good during the World Championship soon because there's just one game going on at a time, but they'll flip around to different games, and it's hard enough to follow what's going on in a chess game with any depth when you're doing something else. So basically it's just tough because sort of how I feel about watching basketball. It's you have to watch it with your full attention. So I just don't really watch a lot of live broadcasts, but I'll tune in and I'll check out on just Lee Chess. I'll go to the live broadcast and look at the game. I don't need to hear the commentary or have them jumping around. I'll just go to the game I want to look at and follow it along live on Lee Chess. So that's a good way to do it. Lee Chess / broadcast or whatever. But yeah, when I was looking at it, Ding Firouzja round 4, I noticed it was the same game I'd already seen just from a sort of interesting queen shuffle. I noticed it was the same that Firouzja played in round 2 against Fabi. So Firouzja played the same line in round 2 and round 4. Sometimes it's hard to tell who's playing the same line. You know what I mean? Is Ding forcing Firouzja to play the same line again, or is Firouzja forcing Ding? But Firouzja was white, so you assume he's controlling it because white moves first. So Firouzja's playing his prep, and Ding played the same first 11 moves as Fabi from round 2, but then he changed it up. The difference was sort of really subtle. It was after the 17th move, the only difference was that white's queen is out, basically Firouzja's queen, but then he ends up gathering a pawn just in a different way. So, but it's interesting. Yeah, it's just cool seeing. That's the cool thing about these super tournaments and these classical tournaments. You see people trying out their serious material, really people save their prep for a tournament like this, and it's they're trying out this interesting opening. I think it was a draw. I forget. Or what ended up happening? Yeah, Magnus has been doing really well in this tournament. He's been having a great tournament. Nakamura has been having a great tournament. Oh no, Alireza ended up beating Ding actually. But it wasn't because of the opening, I don't think. Well, yeah, it was. They got into a very interesting position. Oh, no, Ding sort of collapsed in this one. Yeah. Ding pushed a central pawn 20 moves in. It was a blunder. And Alireza totally played it correctly and just totally, dominated the position. And it was over. That was a cool round. All decisive games. Hikaru beat Pragananda. Carlsen beat Caruana in a crazy game. That was he was a pawn up for a long time. It was a technically drawn end game. No, not a pawn up. They had even pawns. It was a technically drawn queen and 2-pawn end game. But Fabiano's king couldn't go anywhere, and he had to play perfect moves, and eventually he messed up with less than a minute on his clock. And Magnus crushed him. Magnus does that. He's absolutely amazing and probably the greatest of all time. Certainly the greatest active player, very clearly. Today he's playing Ding, who I hope Ding wins, because I have this whole running thing, obviously, on the podcast where I take issue with Magnus. I talked about it a lot recently. Magnus promotes himself as the quote-unquote world chess champion on social media, but he's not. Ding is, and it's just a weird, confusing linguistic thing. And so listen to the episode a few episodes ago for more about that, the chess justice worrying episode. But the thing that makes me really upset about this tournament is just Ding is doing really bad in the tournament. And so, he's in last. There's 6 players, and he's in dead last by a lot. He has a quarter of the points of Nakamura, and like a third of the points of Magnus. Like, there's different points based on whether you win in Classical or Armageddon and blah, 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 or you lose in Classical. But like, Nakamura is currently winning. Carlsen's second. Pragananda, Ferrugia, Caruana, Ding. Ding's way behind. Ding's got half the points of Caruana, who's in fifth, right above him. You know what I mean? Like, he's way behind. He's lost. He hasn't won a game yet, and he's lost 3 outright in Classical, which is just crazy. It's like really bad. But like, because he's world champion and because he took time off for his mental health, everyone thinks it's their right to just talk about him. And he's playing Carlsen today. He might lose again. I mean, he's in just like a little bit of a less sound position, but I think it's even for now. Is he a pawn down? No, it's an even position. 3-5, 3-5, yeah. I would love for him to beat Magnus Carlsen as black today. That would be really huge because he's been losing these games, and then his opponents are interviewed. The winners are interviewed. The losers don't have to suffer through an interview. But in my experience watching a lot of live chess, which I did for the last like 5 to 7 years, it's not necessary for players to say anything about their opponent after they win. They might be asked, but they don't have to say anything about them. And some players are respectful, and other players will be like, yeah, my opponent played really badly today. And they think they're complimenting their opponent because they're saying this bad loss that they clearly just did was very not normal for them, not indicative of their normal skill level. But, some chess players and some people don't really have great social awareness. And this is a good example of that because, like, that's actually not a great compliment. And you actually don't have to say that. You know what I mean? You don't really have to say that. You could say, oh, some of their mistakes seemed out of character. But like, that's maybe the furthest you have to go. You don't have to really analyze too much and really just don't even say anything about them. You could talk about so many other things and your own experience. You don't have to talk about your opponent. I've seen many players decline to really say anything about their opponent. And it just like, it's very normal to do that. I've seen other players who don't do that, and wow, Alireza Firouzja 2 days ago, Hikaru Nakamura, or 3 days ago, I forget when the rest day was, Hikaru Nakamura yesterday, coming out in their interviews and saying, wow, Ding was shaking. Ding seemed really off his game. I hope he's okay. I really wonder how he's going to do in the World Championship. I hope he's okay. He seems really off his game. Gosh, I really just hope for the best for him. Oh, gosh. And yeah, honestly, I'm legit pissed off. Somewhere in between Climate Collapse and books in English that use French. You know what I mean? Like, but like closer to Climate Collapse. Like I'm sorry, that's not funny. But like I feel like I'm watching someone be bullied publicly, and I really strongly dislike Hikaru Nakamura. I think he's a very unpleasant individual, and I think he's very rude and has I don't like his vibe at all. I think he has poor judgment, and I don't like his vibe. I think he makes poor decisions. He's promoting gambling to children. I think he's an atrocious ethical barometer, and here's another instance. Oh, he just wants the attention. He just does his like 20-minute interviews after his games with the chess.com staff because he's best friends with them and business partners with them. And he's just chatting with them, chatting the day away. Let's speculate about everything under the sun. Let's talk about Ding Liren and how we think he was shaking and his mental health. We're just so worried about him. That is concern trolling. That is what they call concern trolling. If this was done on a live stream or something, this is concern trolling. Get his name out of your mouth. Don't talk about your opponent. Alireza did the same thing when he beat him. Oh, he's really off his game. He's really not playing. It's not the same as a brief comment. Oh, he seems like some of his mistakes were out of character. It's like they're trying to speculate about something going on. Oh, he's not doing good. He's really not himself. Oh, well then you know what would probably help him be himself again? Is if after he lost, his opponents speculated about his mental health and talked about him publicly. Yeah, that's a really thoughtful thing to do. So yeah, you're clearly super concerned. I will be so happy if he wins today. But anyways, my favorite player is Vladislav Artemiev, so I don't have a dog in the race. I just like Ding Liren is a good guy. He's a calm, wholesome person. And I think probably he's not having a great time. And I really don't blame him. The chess world doesn't seem super fun. And part of the reason I haven't been watching the live broadcast is ever since chess.com's really been consolidating its power, being now best friends with some of the top players, business partners with Magnus Carlsen, business partners with Hikaru Nakamura, it's getting kind of weird. I don't know. The vibes are getting kind of weird. I got to be honest. I think the vibes in the chess world are getting kind of weird. Maybe I just should not look at, the news, not look at the Reddits, not look at what people are saying in the chess world, because it's kind of, the vibes are off. I think I should just go back to just looking at lichess.org broadcast page, because, but anyways, the World Championship is coming up soon. Ding versus Gukesh. That should be really fun. They're going to announce where it's happening sometime soon. Whoever bids the most, it's like all these corrupt organizations. So let's hope Ding gets a win here. Pulls one out of the bag, though. Magnus does have the bishop pair. And potentially a passed pawn, passed C pawn. So, But, maybe Ding's knight is going to be good. So anyways, okay. Cool. Oh my gosh, what a day. And I have so much to talk about still. There's no way we have time for all this, right? Dana, the episode's over? This has been a good episode, you're saying? You don't have to give me commentary. I'm just asking what I should do. There's been no word of the day. What about... what are there any words I use? Oh, I know. The word of the day. The word of the day. Okay, the word of the day. Yeah, okay, I'll tell you. The word of the day is hold on. The word of the day. Oh, fuck. I was trying to do a French word, but they're so similar. Like interessante. That's the bit failed. The word of the day is, what's the French word for word? Mot. Okay, the word of the day is mot, and I'm not going to tell you what it means. So basically what I have for next episode, I think I even hyped this up. Oh, nice. It'll be good because it actually references stuff from the previous public episode, and I'll do it. And yeah, hold on. Yeah, call. Okay. Apologize to Reginald for calling him Randall. I need to make a note to myself of that because he left earlier, Reginald. And he's never done that. He's never left in the middle of an episode. So I'm just making a note to myself to apologize to him. When he comes back. But basically, so we've done a desk episode in the past. We have the desk section where we talk about all the different desks. But normally it's small. Right now, there's a lot of different things to talk about in the desk section. There's like a business desk, tech desk, Reginald desk, of course. I'm so sorry, Reginald. If you listen to it, he doesn't listen to the podcast. News desk, media desk, workers' rights desk, ad desk, and of course the fantasy desk. And there's even social media desk and biography desk. I talked a little about Monet today. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about in each of those sections, basically. And that's just not going to happen right now. So that's going to happen on the next episode. So that should be fun. I might do a video episode if I feel like it. Let's do the mailbag before we get out of here. But I thank you so much for listening, I guess. I emailed myself something. Oh, because it's Magnus Carlsen's YouTube live streaming this Norway chess tournament, of course, because he gets rights to that as part of his, coordination. And then It says world number 1 Magnus Carlsen versus world champion Ding Liren. So I just thought that was funny because Magnus Carlsen still calls himself world chess champion on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So I'm waiting for the day he deletes that because it's false. All right, great time, good time, and have a good rest of your time, and I'll talk to you next time. Okay, bye.
This is a podcast